Hello everyone, this is Hackett. Today's video is going to be about setting up a cybersecurity home lab. This is going to be a pretty simple home lab for penetration testing. As you can see in this network diagram, it's a pretty simple setup. Uh, so we have a host machine that's connecting to the home network. This host machine will be running the VMware workstation, which we're going to use to run our pfSense virtual machine. pfSense is basically a open source firewall slash router. We're going to use pfSense to create this virtual local network. This virtual local network is going to have three machines in it. We're going to have a Windows machine, we're going to have Metasploitable, and we're going to have a Kali Linux machine. Metasploitable is basically a vulnerable machine that we can exploit using Kali Linux. Then we're also going to use Security Onion. I'm going to put this outside the virtual network. What it's going to do is it's going to monitor our local network and look for any suspicious activity, and then it's going to be managed by the host machine. So it's pretty simple, pretty basic. This basically gives you an idea of how to set up a home lab. Once you get this basic idea and understand the basic concepts, you can go ahead and create your own home lab, which can be way more complicated if you would like it to be. Like you can have virtual, we can have multiple virtual local networks and subnets if you want. And this is actually pretty helpful, and it gives you more experience into how, as a penetration tester, you'd have to, uh, you know, look around your local network, scan for devices, and once you start doing this, you will 100% have better understanding of how to set up more home labs, how to make them more difficult, and it gets more and more difficult if you like it to. So step one is going to be setting up a VMware workstation on the host machine, which is actually pretty basic. You go to your browser and just type in download VMware workstation. Sorry for the caps. Click on the first link and you download it from right here. It's going to give you a 30 days trial. Once you have it downloaded, you just open it up and click next, 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 and it will be installed. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do that. Once you have it installed, it's going to look something like this right here. Uh, this is where all our virtual machines are going to be. Step two of this home lab is going to be, it's going to be installing the pfSense router firewall. Let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and type in down download pfSense. Click on the first link, and we select the AMD64, and then we select the ISO installer. Click download. I already have it downloaded, so I'm not gonna wait for it. Actually, let me cancel it. I don't want it to take a lot of space. There we go. And once it's downloaded, you extract it and you get an ISO file. Once you've extracted it, you go ahead and right click on the workstation, click on new virtual machine, typical. You browse, you make sure this is selected, and then you browse and you select the ISO file you just extracted. Click next, name it. I'm going to stick with pfSense, and I want it to be saved in our E drive home lab. Okay, backslash pfSense, so it actually makes a folder. Click next. I'm going to give it 20 gigabytes, but anything higher than 10 works for storage. And then we are gonna come here and customize our hardware. Let's give it at least 2 gigabytes. Anything higher than 1 gigabyte works. And then for processors, I'm gonna go ahead with two cores each. This really depends on how many processors you have and how many you can spare the virtual machine. And for the network adapter, we're gonna go ahead and select bridged. For the newest version of the VMware workstation, it has a problem where it won't let you use the bridge network. Uh, for some reason, it just doesn't work. I've tried finding a solution, but I couldn't. The only solution is that you downgrade it, and that way it'll allow you to use the bridge network, at least for Windows 11 or my computer. And we click close. Make sure this is unchecked because we don't want the machine to start right after we click finish. It should show up. Let's drag and drop it in the folder for Home Lab. All right, once that's done, next step is going to be setting up the interface, which we'll go ahead and do using the virtual network editor. This comes with the VMware workstation. You run it as administrator, otherwise you won't be able to make any changes to it. Alrighty, let me remove this. Okay, so initially you're gonna have these three. VMnet 0 is by default a bridge network. VMnet will always be host only, and VMnet 8 will always be NAT. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new one just so you get the basic idea of how this works. Give it a few seconds. Alrighty. Now you go ahead and make sure you uncheck this. You don't want the DHCP server service running, and make sure host only is selected. Once that's done, click apply, click OK. Next step will be going to the internet settings, router settings, advanced network settings, and then we click on adapter options. So this is the one we just created. Go to properties, go to TCP/IP4. All right, want to give it a, if it's on obtain an IP address automatically, make sure you select the use the following IP address, and we give it a new IP address. I'm going to go with 192.168.1.130, actually 131. And the subnet for this is going to be 255.255.128. And the default gateway will be 192.168.1.130. I'm doing this because I already have another a subnet that's using the 192.168.1.1, and it has the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Since I already have that, I cannot really use it here, but you basically get the idea. I'm basically using another subnet to run all these virtual machines as a virtual local network. If you are making, if this is your first machine, you don't really have to do any of this, but I'm doing it just in case, because I already have a subnet running. So click OK and click OK again. Let me show you what you do if you, sorry, if you already had, uh, sorry, if you've never made any virtual machines before. So you would go in the edit settings for the virtual machine, and you go to the network adapter, and you click add, and you would add another router. Sorry, my bad. I meant to say another interface. Uh, and then you just click on host only. So this will basically use the VMnet 1 that I was showing you. By default, it's a host only. But since I'm already using that, I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to go to custom, and I'm going to use the second one that we just made. By clicking on host only, it basically uses the first one. So you kind of understand the idea. So VMnet 2 for this. And then we click, let me make sure it changes to VMnet 2. All right, it does. So we have the bridge network. So what the bridge network does is, network interface card does is, it basically gives us connection to the internet using the bridge network of the host machine. And then this VMnet 2 is basically our local area network. And then we click OK. And now we go ahead and start the virtual machine. Click OK. Let me make it full screen so y'all can see. Just give it a few seconds. It shouldn't take that long. Alrighty. Press enter. By the way, if you want to get out of the virtual machine, or if you want to see your mouse, you press Control and Alt together, and then you'll be able to, get out of the virtual machine, minimize or whatever you want to do. And just to get back in the virtual machine, you just click, and there we go. So we want to install pfsense. We want to use UFS, not ZFS. Make sure you use UFS. Entire disk, MBR, finish, commit. And just give it a few seconds. Shouldn't take that long. And now it's asking us to reboot. Press enter. Now it's going to do the initial setup for pfsense. So what's happening before on the latest version of VMware, I would not get it will get stuck here on the setting up the WAN interface. For some reason, it won't let me use the bridge mode. But downgrading it helped. It was a struggle figuring out what the problem was, but eventually I did, and I'm glad it worked. Shouldn't take too long. It's almost done. Alrighty. So we have our WAN connection. We have an IP address for that, and then our LAN is the IP address is wrong for that. So let's go ahead and fix that up. So we'll type in 2 since we're setting the interface's IP address, and then we're gonna type in 2 again since we're changing the LAN. Do we want to configure using DHCP? No, we do not. So the new IP address is going to be 192.168.1.130. Uh, so the CIDR notation is going to be WAC25. The gateway is going to be 192.168.1.130. Default gateway, yes. We do not need DHCP6 since we're not using IPv6. We do not need an IPv6 address. Do you want to enable DHCP servers? Yes, we want the DHCP servers. The range should be from 192.168.1.131 to, let's say, 192.168.1.140. That sounds about right since we're not going to have too many devices on this. So press enter. Do you want to? Yes. Okay, it's going to go ahead and set it up. Perfect. All right, so now we got the pfSense set up. We have the default IP address of 192.168.1.130. So like I said before, it doesn't have to be this. I already am using the first subnet, so I'm not going to use VAC24 and the IP address of 192.168.1.1 since it's already been used on some of my other virtual machines that I've created and it has its own local network. But you can definitely go ahead and use that if you want. That'll be much easier for you. But if you wanna like create a different subnet, you'll have to basically look up what would be the second subnet in that IP address, and use that as your local area network. Yeah, I'm sure it's not making too much sense right now, but just basically all you have to do is go on Google and just look up the second subnet for the IP address, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Once this is done, we are basically done with pfSense. It should be running. Uh, In the next video, we're going to go ahead and create our first virtual machine. It's going to be a Windows machine, and then we're going to use that Windows machine to access the pfSense portal. And from that, we can set firewall rules, or we can change DHCP settings. There's a lot of things we can do in pfSense, which I'll be showing you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you like, and make sure you leave a thumbs up. It helps a lot. Take care.